Welcome to the Herbal Eir, your podcast on all things holistic health, medical astrology, spirituality, herbalism, and so much more. Presented by your host, Eir Atla, medical astrologist, herbalist, and naturopath. Let's dive right into today's topic, love and light. Welcome back to the Herbal Eir. I am your host, Eir Atla, medical astrologist, herbalist, naturopath, green witch, and more. On today's episode, I will be explaining what exactly medical astrology is and how it works to help you understand your body and its health patterns better. Let's get started. Hello, dear listeners. I am so glad that you joined me again today. Today's episode is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, medical astrology. So, what exactly is medical astrology? I know I get that question a lot, like, what the hell is it that you actually do? What is it? So, let's go over today what exactly it is. So, medical astrology is the use of your natal chart and the astrological influences the planets and signs had on your body at the time of your birth and then in their current transits. So, it helps provide the healer with practical insight and information that's not readily available by other means to help achieve true healing. In effect, your natal chart is a type of microscope that helps see into the energetic patterns of the body and the timing, duration, and location of the changes needed within that vessel. So, this is useful for determining many different things, such as determining the type, amount, and strength of the patient's innate vital force, which is the energy wherewith your body operates. It helps us select safe surgery dates, finding the seat of chronic disease in your body, identifying the seat of inflammation, diagnosing mysterious symptoms, comprehending adjunct causes contributive to a disease process, so things that are potentially influencing a disease process that's going on in your body, assisting with fertility and conception. One of the things I do and I love, selecting dates for a C-section if it's needed, identifying length of illness and mortal potential, meaning the potential to kind of determine how long your life will be or whether or not an illness that is impacting you will be fatal or not. Assessing healer patient harmony and disharmony. This one is super important. I find if your energy doesn't mesh well with a client's energy or your energy as a client doesn't mesh with a healer that you're seeing, you're not going to get better. You're not going to achieve true healing because you're not going to be vibing with them on the right wavelength, and you're not going to fully trust that person because your energies just aren't meshing. So that one is really important, and it's one of the things that I screen for when I do my discovery calls. And if it's something that I just feel like we're not, I will let you know that and pass you on to someone else who would be a much better fit. It can also help you select the appropriate herb supplements and remedies for whatever's going on. It can help identify a client's innate weaknesses and strengths. Assessing etological category. This means is it physical, psychological, or like supernatural in nature? Understanding the patient's needs provides the best time to plant herbs, make preparations from those herbs, harvest the herbs, administer the herbal preparations, uh, alert you when a problem is far more dangerous than you would otherwise know. As mentioned earlier, one that maybe doesn't seem that bad by the symptoms alone, but when you really start looking into the natal chart and this person's vitality and all the stuff and what's influencing it, you can kind of see that, oh, this is much worse than we thought. And that's when it might be time to go get out, some emergency medical care from the modern medicine system. It can help you determine the onset of menarche, which is start of menses, your period, the onset of menopause, all things like that, etc. Being alert to the individual patient idiosyncrasies and reactions to preparations. There's a few signs that just don't react to herbal preparations, herbal remedies, herbal medications, pharmaceutical medications, things like that, as you would think that they would. And so that can really influence what you give them and what you don't give them based on those signs. So that's something that's really good to know because that changes up how you will administer and what you will administer and the dose of what you will administer. It can also help you be prepared for collective health trends that are coming. This means like collectively for the world, not just that person, and so much more. So it's just so amazing all the stuff that you can do. So as you can see, this gives any healer a really good basis to start an in-depth assessment of the issues that you are coming to them for, and it makes it fairly easy to make a customized plan and herbal preparations for you. So medical astrology actually used to be a class that every doctor had to take in school. They had to pass it, and so they could pass and get their, MD and become a physician. Without this knowledge to guide them, one believed that doctor to be a quack, and they would soon fall into disrepute and have no patience. Nicholas Culpeper, he was a medical astrologist back in the day, actually said a physician without astrology is like a pudding without fat. Anybody who's tried to make a pudding, he was English, so like English puddings, they do have fat in them, and you need that fat, or else you're not going to get a pudding that sets up, right? It's not going to be a pudding, it's going to be a puddle. And so that's basically what it's saying. A physician without the knowledge of astrology is basically useless. You can't do anything with it. That's how important this once was in relation to the knowledge obtained from medical school as well. They saw them as working hand in hand and not separate systems or completely different viewpoints. So in the 1920s to 1950s, when bulk made medications were becoming the norm, prior to that time, if you needed a medication and your doctor prescribe something for you, whether that would be herbs or an actual, like, pharmaceutical drug, you would get it compounded at the pharmacy for exactly the dose that you needed, what it was that you needed, etc. Right? So it would be made specifically for you, and every time you refilled it, the pharmacist would have to remake that medication just for you. So 1920s and 1950s, bulk made medication started coming out, like similar to the ones that we have now, where someone else was making them and then the pharmacist was just doling them out. And that's when Big Pharma started really pushing for everyone to use their drugs over the herbs, supplements, and diet changes that we had been using in the past that were working just fine. And so it started to fall out of practice, the use of medical astrology. In fact, the practice of medical astrology was demonized and made out to be some kind of quackery, when in fact it was and still is a scientific system that was able to help hundreds of thousands of people over its lifespan get better, heal, and really help physicians see things that they can't see with any kind of other testing that we have even now. So it is starting to gain popularity again, but it's still a little known realm of healing. And it is my absolute favorite way to help clients. And I started using it over the way I was taught herbalism before. The way I was taught herbalism, the courses I went through, the people that I mentored under, all that stuff was literally a very allopathic approach to herbal medicine. Um, so I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted because I was treating it very much like doctors treat drugs now. You go to see a doctor, you're saying, I'm having some anxiety. He's like, oh, here's a pill for anxiety. And he gives you that pill for anxiety. It makes the anxiety go away. And you're like, oh, great, I'm better. You're really not better because they didn't find the root cause and they didn't treat it, but the symptoms are gone, so you feel better. And then when you come back, because now new symptoms are showing up, they're like, oh, well, here's a pill for that symptom. And it's very allopathic. It's very reactive to what you're experiencing. And so that was basically how I was really kind of taught to use herbs too. It was very reactive, it was very allopathic. It was, oh, you're having this symptom. Well, this herb is good for that symptom, so we'll use this herb. And I just found I wasn't having the results that I wanted. So I started looking for a different system because I was like, this is not working, and I'm not sure why it's not working, but it was just my intuition was screaming there was another way to do this. And that's when I stumbled across medical astrology. I started really looking into it, really in depth studying it, and realized that this is what had been missing from my practice. This is super aligned with my soul and how it wants to work. It works on everybody being an individual and having their own constitution, and it works with that constitution. So you find plants that work with that constitution. You know the plants that do um, certain things for those certain types of constitutions. You work on how the planets influence these plants and then which planet is influencing this constitution, so you know which plants to use, which herbs to use to mitigate this and to help heal that. And it's so much more intuitive. It's so much more like individualized for clients, and it really has changed my practice. I have made and seen huge differences in my clients' transformations when I stopped using herbs as an, oh, what are you good for? What can I use you for? And instead started treating them as the amazing individuals that they are. They are a microcosm of the universe just like we are, but sitting with the plants and communing with them and talking to them, really getting to know them and asking, hey, who are you? And how can we help each other? And then realizing that, okay, this plant is influenced by this planet, and this planet is out of balance in this client over here. So if I use this plant, I should be able to balance that planet because everything's all interconnected, right? We're a microcosm of the universe. The plants are a microcosm of the universe. So when you use those plants to help influence our body, you get better results. And it was just amazing. And I absolutely love it. And it's my favorite way to do things. So I will go into more detail next week on each planet, how they correspond to your body, and what each planet actually like influences in your body, which body system it rules and influences, and that kind of stuff. So we'll go more in depth then. I didn't want to get into like super detail today. I just wanted to kind of start talking about it, discussing it, and starting to, have you get an understanding of what it is that I do and how I use it to help you. So, we will talk more next week or whenever the next episode releases. And I would love to hear from you in the meantime. So, in the show notes will be a link to find me on all the social media channels and my podcast channel. So, you can leave a voice message if you would like, or you can message me on one of the social media channels. I would absolutely love that. I would love if you subscribed to my podcast on wherever you listen to it at and leave a review. That would be even better. And yeah, I will talk to you guys next time. So until then, love and light. That's it for another great episode of the Herbal Eir. Tune in next week for more valuable content with your host, Eir Atla.